Yeah, you're coming in great. You're coming in great. Welcome to the Daily Bone Podcast, everyone. We are breaking down. I don't know what Ray. Oh, here we go. Today we're discussing all things ETFs, including the recent massive inflows from the Bitcoin one. We have
the Bitcoin one.
The Bitcoin one. I don't know if you've heard of it. We've got the ETH ETF coming up with an expected launch potentially as soon as next week, and massive new applications for the Solana.
Shout out Van Eck, baby. Finally filing for the Solana ETF. Let's go. It's about time. It's about time. That's what I'm talking about. CBOE official application for the Solana ETF from Van Eck. I'm fired up today.
That is absolutely crazy. And Clemente, I don't mean to hijack here, but if you remember last week, we did talk about this, and maybe you forgot because I'm in rookie mode, forgot my headphones back in Boston. Holy shit, let's make him full screen. Look at how this guy's mad. This guy's coming down from his MDMA-fueled weekend. This dude's got no serotonin left. Clemente,
he was sending me pictures of mounds of Molly. Just mounds of it. It was crazy. I was like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, I'm just having a Tuesday night, brother. I was like, okay, dude.
Clemente, you got to hit that 2 HTP after the weekend, man. Get a little regeneration going on.
What is that?
Oh, yeah, Google like it. You don't know what it is. Yeah,
right. Okay. Yeah, it's like it fixes your brain, dude. The bender you've been on, like, we're just trying to help you out, man. We're just trying to give you the good stuff to get you back to normal.
You were going nose to table, weren't you?
No,
dude. I can tell you don't. I can tell you don't do drugs. You have great teeth, phenomenal gum lines, very little sign of recession at all. I actually had one time a dentist was cleaning my teeth, and she said, "You know, by the way, like we can tell, like based on your teeth, like if people that have drug use." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then she just like didn't say anything. I was like, "Like what?" I grind my teeth at night, lady.
That was just her way of letting you know, like, you do drugs.
Exactly. That's a little, you know, she hit it good. It was a good jab, you know, she set it up nice.
One time, Clemente, I had people over my house. I was serving them pizza. It was a little dinner party of sorts, right? When you make pizza, there's a lot of flour everywhere. And there was a line of flour on the counter that literally looked like cocaine. And everybody else was out on the deck, like the, you know, the terrace, enjoying the summer, you know, enjoying the pizza, whatever. I was in the house making like one or two of the last pizzas. And a guy that I didn't know that well, he was like a friend of a friend, was over with some other people. And he like came in to use the restroom, and on his way back out from the restroom, he noticed the flour on the table, and he was like, "Yo, is that a line?" And I just looked at him and no hesitation, I just went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you mind if I like hit that right now?" And I go, "No, go ahead, man." And he literally was about to go nose to table on the flour on the counter. And I was just like, dude, that's literally pizza flour, man. I'm making pizza. And he was so embarrassed. And it was like one of the funniest things that I've ever done, maybe.
Dude, but now you know he's down.
Why are you bringing me back into the frame?
I'm putting you on the frame because you're so upset right now, and I'm trying to figure out why. What's going on, Clemente?
No, I'm good. I feel phenomenal.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, look, Daily Bone Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm giving Clemente a hard time, but he's a phenomenal host. We're going to be talking about a number of subjects today. We got a merch drop happening tomorrow. Always remember that every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, we're doing merch drops. Tomorrow's is the Inferno Torch lighter. I should have it handy right now, and I actually don't, but I'll grab it before the end of the show. That's tomorrow, 10 a.m. Only 100 overall supply ever produced. Bodago's discount active. Got to check out with Solana Pay, and you will get that. I'm going to ratchet that up to 40%. So that's a 40% Bodago's discount tomorrow. There it is right there, Inferno Torch Lighter. Today, we're going to discuss all things ETFs, including the inflows to the Bitcoin ETFs, what the ETF could mean, you know, being launched in the near future. And I do want to dig in to the Solana ETF situation, because I actually just think that that is the most preposterous thing, that we actually are maybe going to get a Solana ETF. If BlackRock files, we're getting a Solana ETF. But anyway, we got a little partner action. Today's show is brought to you in partnership with the one and only Shrapnel. You've heard us talk about Shrapnel before. Even though the next STX isn't quite here yet, you can still earn Shrapnel ecosystem rewards. And the best way to do that is by owning a Shrapnel Operator Ethereum NFT. The benefits of owning an operator are increased Shrap during the STX sessions for completing missions, additional metal from Moku Quest and just having to click a little button every day to claim that. And you also get free credits to play Lunatic's Discord game where you can also earn metal. So you're going to want metal. Metal is going to be a key part of Shrapnel's ecosystem. It's going to provide future ecosystem rewards, wink, wink. And not only will you earn future rewards, but you can spend metal without giving up future rewards that it's going to give you in the Moku shop, which will contain merch and valuable partner NFTs. Easy, did I miss anything regarding the Shrapnel updates?
So a little info. I got dinner last night with the Shrapnel gang.
Oh,
in Brussels. Got some insight into metal. You're going to want metal. Partner NFTs, additional assets that you can use for it. Think of metal as like an in-game currency. There's no liquidity pool. You can't dump it. None of that stuff, but it will have a bunch of added benefits down the line here. So I'm extremely excited about it. I've been clicking my buttons. I've been getting metal. There's going to be NFTs that you can swap that metal for. So some actual assets that have real market value that you can take advantage of. And that's a win. That's a win. So if you're not doing any of these yet, if you're waiting for the next STX, there's a ton of quests that you can do right now, updating those daily. They're doing a ton of awesome things with metal. Just go. It takes a few minutes a day. It's nothing crazy. Sure, I know Pio how he feels about the admin crypto work, but I know you got some time on your hands if you're watching this show right now that you can take a step over and go and click those buttons, complete those quests, and start stacking the metal. It's worth it. Just trust me on that. I don't want to disclose too much. But metal is going to be worth it in the long run. So go start stacking your metal.
Definitely don't disclose too much. Yeah, shout out to Shrapnel. I'm jealous that you got to eat dinner with that team in Europe. That's pretty dope. Signal, why don't we get cooking with this weather report Wednesday, July 9th? Let's get cooking.
Yeah, let's get cooking, guys. Looking over the crypto roundup, the majors are up on the day after Bitcoin ETF saw almost 300 million of inflow. That is the most since June 5th. So just ignore Germany dumping. Bitcoin is at 57,400. Ethereum is just under 3,100. Solana is $141. On to the meme side, Bonk leads all the top 100 coins. That's up over 10% to almost 2 billion market cap. It has flipped within the process and is now leading the meme coins over on Solana. Over the past 24 hours, top 3 stories. Well, firstly, it's got to be the ETF news. VanEck and 21 shares filed for that Solana ETF. Also, the final S1 form, all the admin amendments, they were filed by all ETF applicants as we await approvals as early as this week. Secondly, the official GOD platform includes a section on crypto that defends the right
Signal, real quick. Can we just kill the background audio and we'll just go without the background audio and we'll just keep doing that moving forward. But sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
All good. So you guys heard the second story. Finish on that one. It basically, all Americans have the right to self-custody. And then lastly, more celebrities are getting entangled with Solana meme coins as Lionel Messi shares the water token on his Instagram account, causing the token to run to up to over 200%. Doja Cat's Twitter account also got hacked and showed another Solana meme coin. It is Solana meme coin still in season still. And that is all for the weather report. It is back to you folks in the studio.
Fantastic weather report as usual, Signal. So look, I mean, if we start cooking right here, we're talking about Bitcoin being at 57K. It hit a bottom of 54K. You're seeing Ethereum at 3,000, hit a bottom at 2,800. And Solana so resilient. The bottom was 128. Now it's at 140. I think the biggest story in crypto in general, without question, is the Ethereum ETF expected next week at the latest, which is bonkers. I cannot wait to see what the flows are with the Ethereum ETF. I mean, this is just so nuts. 2024, we got the Bitcoin ETF in January. Right now, 6 months later, we're going to get the Ethereum ETF. Time's going to go by. We have we have VanEck and others filing for Solana ETFs at this point. It's pretty wild. Goldman Sachs is predicting $1 billion to $3 billion in inflows over the course of the year for Ethereum. Eric B., one of the Bloomberg boys, I should put an asterisk out there that these guys have just been wrong about everything ETF wise, and then they just correct it right before things happen. I'm not even throwing shade. I'm just pointing it out. Keep in mind, James Stafer, when he came on our show, said there's a 0% chance of a Solana ETF in the next 12 months, and all of a sudden people are filing for him. But big shout out to James and Eric. Obviously, I know they're just doing their jobs. Eric B. from Bloomberg expects that ETH could capture around 15 to 20% of the inflow seen with Bitcoin ETFs. James Seyfert, more of an ETH maxi, I guess, predicts 20 to 25%. Bitcoin ETFs have $50 billion of assets under management. So this comes out to a prediction of about 7 billion to 13 billion of flows for the Ethereum ETFs. Grayscale, so looking at Grayscale, so that would be ETH was the name of their Ethereum fund. They were GBTC. 25 to 30% of the demand of the Bitcoin ETFs for Grayscale would be 13 billion to 15 billion. And keep in mind, Grayscale was in a financial, like a very troublesome financial situation, and thus they left their fees very high for the Bitcoin ETF to essentially make up for financial issues that they were having. And it worked because holders of the GBTC ETF essentially had to weigh the tax liability against the fees to figure out whether it made sense for them to actually sell out of the Grayscale ETF. And as a result, when people were doing that math, Grayscale had them pinned against the wall, and they had to say, you know, a significant percentage had to say, well, I'm just going to keep it in the Grayscale ETF. So Grayscale was just farming fees from them, and they're about to do it for the Ethereum ETF too. Effectively, the Ethereum and Bitcoin ETF saved Grayscale and Digital Currency Group, or is directionally saving them. They're obviously not out of hot water yet, but you saw the return of Gemini earn funds and whatnot associated with this. So you're seeing a lot of positive impact from the ETFs on the kind of infrastructure and business side of crypto as well. So easy, when we talked about the Ethereum ETF being a quote, sell the news event a few weeks ago, Ethereum was at $3,600 at that time, which is kind of wild to think about that. It was just at $3,600. It had just had a little bit of movement finally once the Ethereum ETF seemed more realistic before the approvals came through. How do you feel about where we're at now? I guess you could say it was a sell the news event just a little bit early, but what are you thinking about now?
To be honest, I'm still thinking the same that I have been. Like, these events are sell the news short term until we start getting those inflows. And that's where I'm like, perfect. This should start to show some more signs of life. We start to get the data around inflows. We start to get some movement across the board. My major concern is I want to see sustained inflow on both Bitcoin and ETH ETFs, because if you have one pull from the other or vice versa, that's somewhat bearish, I will say. Like, that's a little bit of a concern for me. But on the same breath, my money was on an XRP ETF before a Solana one. So that's somewhat surprising. The other thing is, like, it finally seems the market realized that Germany selling Bitcoin is not bearish for Solana. Like, that's the other side of this. Like, the market was like, oh shit, Bitcoin selling, everything goes down. And now Solana's kind of held up nicely. I've been a very strong advocate that the bottom's in on Sol at 125, and I still continue to echo that. Under 130, I'm a buyer still to this day. And I think that is the biggest thing here that I'm watching. When it comes to the ETFs on ETH,
and real quick, before we go to the ETH ETF, let's just chat about this Germany situation. I think, so every one of these events where it's all of a sudden like an entity that has a ton of a certain asset, like Bitcoin in this instance. I mean, we've seen other examples of this too with FTX and Solana. That was kind of, in my mind, the last one that I can think of. It's like, oh, FTX holds so much Solana, they're going to sell all their Solana. The thing is, those things get priced in aggressively ahead of the actual event. So big bad Germany with their Bitcoin sales at this point is all but priced in. That stuff basically hits you in the face like a ton of bricks when the news first comes out, and then the impact just gradually goes down and people stop giving a shit about it. I don't know if you disagree with that, Easy, or what you think about that, but I think it's priced in.
Once the news shares that they're selling, it's priced in. It's always been that way. When the news is reporting on it, and I had posted about that, I was like, when the news posts it, it's in. The bottom's in on that. There's no more bad news. The bad news happens before, and you're like, why is this selling? Why is this selling? Why is this selling? And then the news drops. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw Bitcoin sell off pretty hard down to that like 54, 55 range. And now it's still sitting relatively flat. And I think it will continue to sit flat here until that sell pressure is gone, that overhang. I don't think you get sustained upward momentum until their bags are gone. Like, I mean, we just showed their wallet. If you're watching the YouTube stream, $1 billion. That's a ton of capital. But at the same time, ETH or Bitcoin ETF inflows, we've had multiple $1 billion inflow days, which can subside that sell pressure. The other thing is, like, watching people analyze the sell pressure is really interesting to me, because they're like, are these guys just market dumping this? You had Wizard of Soho comment on it and be like, these might be the worst sellers I've ever seen, because most people don't clip it in one clip and try to just exit, and yet the German government is. We're seeing like massive sells, which with slippage and everything else just fucks their entire value of that capital. Which is
they
just
don't know
like
what they're doing.
100%. Like, you could slow scale this out over the next 4 months, and probably make a substantial more on the return of it versus one clip it out. Like, dude, just set progressive sell orders on the way up, and now the market will actually react positively to it, knowing that these guys are just slow scaling versus one clip dumping it, which is, to me, just kind of funny because it just shows that whoever's managing this, whoever has access to these keys, doesn't give a shit. They're just like, yeah, we don't want this on the books anymore. I don't know. I'm just like, the news is already reported on it. Who cares? It's past us at this point. Someone asked me the other day, like, how much worse could it get? And I'm like, well, Coinbase could collapse. I don't think it's going to happen. But that's always like, what's the worst case scenario? Is Coinbase going to zero? That'd be very bad. But other than that, man, I'm just like, great. Dips are for buying.
What about the Mt. Gox unlock? Is that coming up soon as well?
It's already happened. It's already happened. Mt. Gox moved their funds the day before, same day as Germany is selling. So,
but
like,
do they give them to people? They don't sell them, right? They give the coins to people, or do they sell them and give the people cash?
That's what people are unsure of, is if it's going to be converted into that, because I haven't looked at the documentation behind it, but there is something out there that shows how they're diversifying and sending out those funds. It could, if it's in cash, that's hilarious. That's like the funniest thing I've ever heard, because one, it won't be cash valuation at current market prices. And two, if they give it to them in cash, that sell pressure is non-existent. So I'm hopeful they give it to them in cash personally.
Yeah, I mean, regarding Germany, just to put a bow on it, like, and Wizard of Soho's tweet, I mean, obviously, I understand, you know, the commentary that he's providing. This is a government entity. They don't know anything about crypto at all. And everybody know, if government entities could do things well, then, you know, the world would be in a significantly stronger place. We know that they just can't do anything right. It's just the way it works. And so obviously they're not executing this properly. So yeah, Germany in my mind is already priced in. I don't know what else could happen that would make it get worse. What do you think? Oh, Fred Krueger, Mt. Gox is not going to be fully paying everybody until October 31st, 2024. If your strategy was to short Bitcoin futures or perpetuals, especially using leverage, you may have to wait until a week before the election for your payday. Lots of time to get squeezed into oblivion by a gamma candle. I love my guy Fred Krueger holding the line here on Bitcoin. Personally, I wouldn't want to make that bet, especially with a Trump premium incoming. If you don't follow Fred Krueger, his position is that Trump is going to be elected and that rates are going to go to zero, and that our, you know, crypto is going to pump Bitcoin, especially. Kick something to add here before we move on to the Ethereum ETF.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that's a sure thing, especially if you've followed the UK and France elections. I think it would be prudent to be open-minded to whoever the leader of the Democrats is by November, having a decent shot at a W.
Well, look at that. Look at Kicks with a little bit of insight. Sig, you're muted, Sig.
Kicks, I'm gonna say, if it goes anything like how France has come, I think Trump is going to be winning over in the United States. So
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, the far right in France is just like everywhere at the moment. Her approval ratings has gone up year by year. So,
but I thought Macron did like a deal with the other party, and they got, even though they didn't get most of the votes, they got most of the seats.
It's more looking at what has been the evolution of. So they keep winning a bigger share of the votes every year.
Gotcha.
That's more of a reflection of the sentiment of where they think the country is heading. And I think in the US, it will be personally, I think Trump is going to win. I do. I think there's just too many things against Biden.
I personally wouldn't mind
that. Your bags are definitely going to say thank you. But yeah, let's see. But I do think Trump's going to win in the US, and that will be good for crypto, but for other things, not so much.
I think it would definitely be good for markets in general, crypto.
Yeah, he's going to be the only dictator that left office and then came back to become the dictator on the second go, which I'm excited to see that one play out.
Excited to see office. Excited to see the dictatorship. Well, Donald Trump has disclosed Ethereum holdings in the past. So speaking of the Ethereum ETF, Easy, you did have a surprisingly accurate, I'm just saying surprisingly because it's hard to get these things right. You had a surprisingly accurate prediction about the price action post Bitcoin ETF. You said it was a sell the news event for a few weeks, and then it was up only, and it was exactly that. So that was a phenomenal prediction regarding the Bitcoin ETF back in January. We want to see if you can do it again. What's your prediction on where we go with Ethereum and I guess the crypto market in general, because obviously the Ethereum ETF does not only affect Ethereum. What do you think is going to happen here?
You know,
No, sorry, dude. I just wanted to say really quick, easy. You know what's crazy is how low Gwei is. It's like sub 5 all the time.
Well, I don't. That's actually bullish because that just shows like. Do you remember that whole sharding thing they had? I forget what the name was of the most recent event that they had the upgrade.
Is that the one with the dink name? I forget.
Blobs.
Yeah, I forget. No, blobs were actually bullish for L2s. Yeah, Cancun, I think maybe. Whatever the most recent upgrade is, who gives a shit at this point what the name is? I'm gonna be brutally honest. Who cares? Like, but the whole thesis was that gas will be lower, and ETH's entire premise on this upgrade for blobs was that L2 gas fees would be lower, which drives more volume to L2s, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Gwei got as low as 1 on the 4th of July. A singular Gwei. Is there a small echo there?
Yeah, we got a little echo there. It might be Signal. Maybe Signal can mute. But anyway, go ahead and continue. Easy.
So I was just saying the one Gwei shows that upgrade worked. Like plain and simple. And the whole thesis has always been that ETH is like the primary layer, but the L2s are what you're actually going to get. And that's where more volume cycles. And that's bullish in general for ETH because like still the L2s have ETH. They're using ETH. The gas fee is still ETH, all that other fun jazz. And as L2 volume increases, that can be deflationary for ETH. When it comes to the ETF and like what I'm looking at, I actually think that we resume some level of up-only activity and positive price action this go around because we didn't get immediate trading where we did with the Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin ETF trading happened so quickly after approvals that's where I was like, it's going to be a small sell to news event, 7 to 14 days. Then price action goes up. We went to all-time highs on Bitcoin. With ETH, I think what's actually going to happen is we're going to see ETH approvals start. Inflow data is going to be closely monitored, and ETH rallies back to 36, 3,700 very quickly. Like I'm talking probably 7 to 10 days after, we see some very positive swings, 3 to 5% days over consistent periods of time. We're not going to see like a 40% candle in a day, but I do think we see positive price action market wide. And it lines up with like the lack of summer right now volume, where traditional finance is out of office, volume slows. We're seeing lack of liquidity. That approval happens next week. We're halfway through July, leading into August, which is where you start to see volume increase again, into September, which is that election cycle, where I think we're going to see a ton of inflow and positive volume across the board. So I'm like, this time it will be different than the Bitcoin ETF approval, where in general, we're going to get positive price action leads us to 36. Sol back up towards 150. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Well, great analysis. Real quick,
hotel internet, but I think we're all lagging.
I'm going to leave and rejoin. Are we good? We good? We good to go, guys?
It was seriously lagging for me just then. I thought it was easy. I thought it was easy. I thought it was easier than I thought it was me, and then everybody seemed to lag at exactly the same time.
All right, I think Rush has taken out the Northeast internet grid.
I've never seen that happen before.
Some shit's happening.
Dude, we just
some shit's happening.
All lagged at once. That was absolutely insane. All right, we're good. We're good.
Okay, well, I don't know. I just left and rejoined. Did we cover Gollum real quick? Gollum?
My precious.
Okay, so anyway, Gollum. Gollum was a project ICO. So these guys rug pulled in 2016, it seems. And they had 36,000 Ethereum. Insane. And they transferred it to Binance, Coinbase, Bitfinex in the past 37 days. That's worth $115 million. Is that a max level event for Ethereum? I don't know. What do you think, Easy? I just think all these things get priced in as soon as they're public information.
I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't really care about this. As crazy as it sounds, this feels like a non-factor to me. It's past 37 days, 115 million, 656 million. We get $1 billion inflow day on an ETH ETF approval. That volume is void, in my opinion. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? The 2x their current bag. Like, once it hits the news, it's behind us every single time.
Absolutely. So look, moving on to a juicy subject here. We're going to talk about the action between equities and Clemente just left. I don't know if he's, I think that the Twitter audience might be, hey, Clemente, how's it going, bud? So Bitcoin versus correlation equities is currently the lowest it's been in over 4.5 years, likely due to idiosyncratic supply overhang from Germany, the United States, and Mount Gox. Half of the 50,000 Bitcoin has been sold by the German government. They have $1.3 billion left. There's a question of whether they're manipulating. They both deposited and withdrawn various amounts of Bitcoin from exchanges over the past week. I quite frankly don't care about what Germany has been doing with Bitcoin, because like we discussed earlier in the show, I think it's priced in. I think that the lack of correlation between Bitcoin and equities is a very fascinating topic. And I think as time will continue to, that gap will continue to widen. Like 2016, 2017, like a speculative asset that was similar to essentially a tech stock, something like Tesla or something like that. They saw a real separation of Bitcoin from the traditional equity markets was during the Silicon Valley bank collapse that happened a couple of years ago. If you guys remember that one, it was Cal collapsed. Am I just completely fucked? And I'm gonna leave and
Stream.
come back.
Having
I
issues.
feel like I'm complete connection. I'm gonna turn off
StreamYard's website. StreamYard's website doesn't say they got any issues going on right now.
It says all systems operational.
My Wi-Fi is good to go. I did a Wi-Fi. I thought it was possibly me since I was maybe the host, but my Wi-Fi is completely fine. OG on YouTube.
They're probably taking the internet down first. This may be the end of like civilization as we know it before the hydrogen bomb comes in and hits us. I watched Oppenheimer for the first time 2 nights ago.
I get the feeling Kicks are the only one prepared for this moment. Like you've got the canoe boats, the tin cans, you've got the bunker. I feel like this is the moment you have wanted for years to come.
I got the iodine tablets, you know what I mean? The stuff, so like I'm all camoed out. So I'll be ready to go. And I got a shit ton of AR-15 rounds, let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
I'm lagging pretty bad, guys. I'm gonna join from Twitter Spaces.
Okay. All right, let's do Twitter Spaces. Let's go back and we're
less laggy now. I think it's PO. Honestly, I think it was PO.
Okay. I got you for a second, but now we're losing each other.
I know. Now we're losing each other. I still think I look good on my end. Do you look good on your end, or do you see your own lag?
No,
I think I'm the only one.
I look good on my end.
On your end.
I just did I've been doing like 4 Wi-Fi tests. Everything is good on my end.
I'm on Star, so I think I'm fine. You guys are the Russians are taking over the fucking internet grid as we fucking speak, dude. Probably North Korea Lazarus groups involved.
I think it's a StreamYard problem. I'm gonna check StreamYard real quick. See
what the fuck are these guys doing? Where's StreamYard located?
It might be. I also just realized I wasn't hard connected to the internet. It was plugged into the gaming PC from the previous stream. Anyway, did we talk about like while I was gone?
Now the lag's completely gone. So it was PO.
Anyway, once I left, we were talking about the gap between equities and the crypto markets, but really Bitcoin. The first time we saw that was Silicon Valley Bank. I feel like that's just continuing. And you're seeing it right now in a not good way where equities are doing incredibly well and Bitcoin isn't doing as well. But it kind of shows that Bitcoin's on its own trajectory. The 4-year Bitcoin cycle seems to be very much so intact when you look at the charts of this year compared to 2020 and previous cycles, by the way. Obviously, there was something that was, new this cycle. There's always something new. It's never going to be identical. And the new thing was the ETF approval happening early in the year, leading to the all-time high being broken way earlier than normal. But that's what I think is what's happening. I don't know, Kicks, any other thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think one of the interesting things, I think we're visually like waiting or absorbing like Bitcoin and ETH a lot when obviously Solana made like a massive move. And if you look at Solana structurally it could in the last cycle. So I've been trying to like factor that in more. Really good. Who knows if there's like a little bit, but I mean, I think it's holding up very, very well right now, which is great to see. I think the disconnect between the equity markets and just very simply 401k inflows. Maybe I'm completely out to lunch, but I really think that's a real thing. Like, what is keeping the market propped up? It's the constant inflows of that liquidity. Bitcoin and ETH are starting to get that now with the ETFs. But where a little bit of the disconnect is. Also, the disconnect between equities and crypto has happened over what, 2 months, right? Like 2 months.
Well, if you count the
a trend does not buck
Valley thing,
yeah,
that's multiple years. I'm sorry, it's like, and so look, ladies and gentlemen, to preserve some sort of issue with StreamYard, we are going to switch. Clemente, you are muted, and anyway,